Okay.
Like your earrings, by the way.
Thank you.
All right, Mary Anne Burrows, DTM3, will be giving her speech from the Presentation Mastery Pathway, Level 2, Effective Body Language. The purpose of this project is to deliver a speech with awareness of your intentional and unintentional body language, as well as to learn, practice, and refine how you use nonverbal communication when delivering a speech. Prepare a speech on a topic that lends itself to expression through your movement and gestures. The time for our timer will be 5 to 7 minutes, and the title is Olive. All right, let us welcome Mary Anne Burrows.
Fellow Toastmasters and welcome guest. Do you remember when you were just a little tyke and people would say, "What's your favorite color?" You would beam and then blurt out your favorite color. But seldom did anyone ever ask, what was your least favorite color? Well, if I had a big box of Crayola crayons and I had to pick my least favorite color, it would be olive green. Can't see it very well. Not shamrock green, but olive green. And truth be known, I don't even like olives. And I know some of you probably like olive green, but not my favorite. Years ago, we needed a new car. Our daughter was going to be driving soon, and it was time. Just so happened that the neighbor across the street was selling one of his vehicles. So my husband went across the street, talked to the neighbor, looked at the car, and then they settled on a price. And we were the owners of a brand new car. Well, new to us, but certainly not new. In fact, she was big, she was old, and she was ugly. Oh, and did I tell you? She was olive green. The body was olive green. The roof was olive green fabric that was starting to fade, so it didn't quite match the bottom any longer. But she was our new car. Now she was an Oldsmobile Delta 88 with a 454 V8 engine. So even though she was ugly, she could go. The only thing is, she was so big that when you drove her, she felt more like a boat than she did a car, and she had this buoyant feeling. And when you went around the corner, the tail end would dovetail. And you wonder, how big was she? Well, she was probably 3 times the length of the average car on the road today, and twice as wide. You could fit 3 sumo wrestlers on that front seat with room to spare. And it was one big, long seat. Now, my daughter was a Girl Scout, and her scout leader was Girl Scout leader extraordinaire. She always wanted to make sure the girls had many opportunities to camp. I was a co-leader and oftentimes a designated driver. And old Olive was perfect for going on camping trips because we could put about a busload of girls in the car. And that trunk, when you opened her up, you could put in backpacks, coolers, food, beer, you name it, we could fit it in that trunk. And if you've ever gone traveling with girls, you know they like to bring everything but the kitchen sink. And with Olive, it didn't matter if it got a little scratch or a ding or got muddy or dirty, because she was already old and ugly. But we had some wonderful times, and when the girls would be in the car and I'd be driving along with their heads out the window, squealing and screaming and giggling and laughing and talking about all the latest adventures from our recent camp out. Olive took us many places and provided great service to us. Now, the interesting thing was the very first time I drove her, my husband was at work and I took the kids to a restaurant. When we got done eating, we got in the car and I went to start the car, put my foot on the gas, and the gas pedal stuck to the ground. That 454 V8 engine was running full speed, and no matter what I tried to do, it wouldn't stop. I was frantic. The kids were yelling. And I didn't even know how to open the hood yet because it was the first time I drove her. So one night, so fortunately, a good Samaritan walked by, offered to help. He helped me figure out how to open it up. He stuck his head in underneath the hood and looked around like he was a doctor examining a patient. And finally, he found that special lever. He flipped the lever, and we were good to go. And it never did that again. Now, I mentioned earlier that my daughter was almost ready to learn to drive. Imagine trying to learn how to drive in a boat. And even the driving part wasn't that bad, but trying to parallel park it? Well, I figured if she could learn how to drive it and parallel park that car, she could parallel park anything. Well, the interesting thing is she went on to learn how to fly a plane. So maybe she was just preparing. I don't know. But a very funny thing used to happen when my daughter or I would drive the car. We'd put on the blinker and smoke would start to bellow up out of the driving column. We would run home, tell my husband, he would check it out, try to drive it, and it would never happen when he was driving. It probably took 3 months before one day he was driving and it happened to him. And of course, we immediately got it fixed because it's not good to have smoke coming out of the steering column. Well, the years passed, and our neighbor actually told my husband, had he known that car was going to last that long, he would have kept it himself. And the funny thing was, as she got older, she got even uglier. You know how when we get older, we start to get age spots? Well, she started to get age spots. The paint on the hood of the car started to wear off, revealing this ugly brown rust color. And on the roof, that fabric started to dry up and pucker and peel. And she was really ugly. And it started to become rather embarrassing to even drive her down the road and be seen in it. And that front seat that I told you about, well, every time my husband, my daughter, or I got in the car, we would always have to adjust the seat to fit our leg length. Well, after a while, all those grooves got kind of slippery in there. So you'd get in the car and adjust the seat, start driving, and about 5-10 minutes into the ride, suddenly the seat would jerk forward and then yank backwards and make this horrendous noise, scared the heck out of you. And we were never prepared for it. But eventually, we had to put the girl down. And it was sad because she had provided such great service. But they say you can't tell a book by its cover. I found out you can't tell a car by its color. Madam Toastmaster. You can see Terrell. Go ahead, Terrell.
Yeah, I was waving.
I'm sorry, I didn't see your face. I'm still on pin me so I could see when I was giving the speech. I'll go back to gallery and then I'll see you. All right, there we go.
Yeah, you're still recording, by the way.
Thought I stopped it.
Okay.
It's on pause, I believe. It's not flashing red, so it's good.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, though.
Hello, fellow Toastmasters, and St. Patrick's Day. Well, I don't really celebrate St. Patrick's Day, but when I was a kid, my father was from Shamrock, Texas. And while the St. Patrick's was not a big holiday celebrated down in Texas and Oklahoma area, the school kids were usually the only ones that celebrated it when I was a kid. But since the town was called Shamrock, they had a special celebration. It was a small town. And what they would do is where the two main roads met together, they would close it down for a block each direction, and they would bring in and have carnival rides, and it would be like a little fair carnival kind of thing that they would have on St. Patrick's weekend, whatever weekend that would be. And I remember playing one of the games. They had these big stuffed snakes. They featured, because it was St. Patrick's Day, and St. Patrick was supposed to have ran all of the snakes out of, Ireland, as the folklore goes. And so I loved, they had purple and green ones that we used to love and bug our dad till played them till each one of us kids, my brother and my sister, we won one of those stuffed snakes. So that's how I remember St. Patrick's Day as a child. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Terrell. That sounds like a fun adventure. And how could you not have a celebration if you live in Shamrock, Texas, right? All right, for our second question is, have you ever gone to a St. Patrick's Day parade? All right, looks like Anand's hand is up.
So, fellow Toastmaster and Madam Table Topic Master. Yes, my first experience with the St. Patrick Parade was indeed in the Cleveland downtown. And I attended a parade in the past, but most of were not as green as it gets in the St. Patrick's Parade. So this is a big parade in this. It used to be. In the last couple of years, I don't know what's happening, but it is basically a pretty big parade, and there are a lot of sponsors. You will see the antique cars, and I saw a couple times. So that's a typical theme. You see the people from all other ethnicities and backgrounds participating in parade. There are bands from the various schools. One year I saw Indian communities participating in the St. Patrick's Day parade. They chose the green color and then the traditional additional colors to it. But that was a great. One more thing additional which is very peculiar to Cleveland is Cleveland Great Lakes breweries have Irish Pale Ale, which is a seasonal beer flavor, and that comes around this time. Even though I don't celebrate St. Patrick's Day, I usually pick up at least a crate of pale ale beer during this time, because rest of the year you don't get that one, and it's pretty good beer. So try that out.
Very cool. Thank you. And it's quite interesting. Somebody who comes all the way from India goes to a St. Patrick's Day parade, and I've lived in Cleveland all my life and have never been to a parade. So go figure. Let's see. So do you have any favorite St. Patrick's Day foods or drinks? And I know Ananda already addressed that, but anybody else have any comments about that? Come on, Dave. We know you like to drink. There must be something good there that you've tried. There he goes.
Okay, all right.
I know you won't fail us.
Madam Table Topics and fellow Toastmasters. So I I have gone out for St. Patrick's Day on occasion, and I have seen a parade one time when I was at Cleveland State. Just happened to be after finals, and the parade was going, and I'm like, okay, I'll watch it for like half a minute. Not a parade person, but yes, for drinking, I have gone to like close to here and close to the old American Greetings was the Hooley House. So they're kind of an Irish bar, and so having several drinks there, of the Irish descent, like the Conways from Great Lakes and the Harp and all those different kind of Irish ales, the Guinness Stout, and that's always a good one for, even though you think it's very heavy, it's very light, as far as alcohol content. And so it is a nice smooth beer to occasionally enjoy. And, I also sometimes drink the whiskey, the Jameson whiskey, although that's very difficult. It's very strong kind of a taste to it. So I don't typically do that, but yes, I do partake in the Irish drinks, especially around St. Patty's Day. Madam Table Topics.
Thank you, Dave. Nice job. So it looks like we are down to our girl, Miss Wendy. So in 1962, the Chicago River was dyed green to trace illegal sewage discharges. But it turned all the water green, and somebody got the idea of why don't we continue to do this for St. Patrick's Day? Now, what they did was put 100 pounds of dye in it at that time, which kept the water green for a number of days. So they decided for St. Patrick's Day, they would only put 40 pounds so that it only lasted for a short time, but there was a green river. So my question to you, Wendy, is do you think that they have taken green a little bit too far by dyeing the river green?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. Whenever, I'm really glad that you told that story because I was actually thinking about the film, The Fugitive, where there's a line in that movie where one of the characters says, if they can dye the river green for one day, why can't they dye it blue for the other 364 days of the year? I thought that was a great joke. So I guess that would be my question, right? And I can't, I feel, it makes me wonder, you know, since I'm not familiar with how Chicagoans feel, I guess, about their river, it makes me think, of course, about Cleveland and our jokes about Lake Erie, and I remember going every time I would visit the shores of Lake Erie down where downtown Cleveland is anyway, you would smell, of course, the dead fish smell. And you'd see, of course, every time I drive through that area, past right when you go through the downtown area through Dead Man's Curve, and then you see the beautiful Lake Erie there, you'd also see flocks and flocks of seagulls just hovering all over, this cloud of seagulls just waiting for the fish to beach themselves, I guess, or just ready to pluck those dead fish out of the water. But I know I'm not really answering your question, but your question does make me think about those two things, about our wonderful Lake Erie and its odors, and that joke that I remember in The Fugitive. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Wendy. And I know I've seen that movie, but I don't remember that line. So thank you so much for sharing that line, because that's a hoot and holler. And thank you for all our participation in the table topics portion. And I will pass the wand back to Wendy.
All right. Thank you, Mary Anne. That was fun. That was